Hey there, journeyers. Nemo Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of your actuarial journey. It's actually kind of cool as you see this right now. I'm moving through my apartment, and my wife Nicole recently made this into a winter wonderland. I'll go ahead, if you don't mind, with me just starting out, just showing you a little bit about how I get to live now in the wintertime. All right. That was the quick tour here of the Winter Wonderland, but things are all set up here, and it's really cool to see all this here from the snowflakes hanging from the ceilings over to the Joy to the World poster, over to even this tree right here. It's kind of cool because now we're on our second Christmas here as Mr. and Mrs. Shang. So great times have been had, and great times are coming, and it's kind of interesting because what I want to talk to you today is about willpower, and willpower mainly not being able to power you, right? Willpower not won't power you. And it's really fitting that I'm seeing this here in this winter wonderland because yesterday at this time you just come back from visiting my parents, and this wasn't up here. There was none of this winter wonderland didn't exist. In fact, we were in the middle of a fall fiesta. I think I have to keep the alliteration going. But this whole setup all happened within a day, minus the lights, because we had that there for ambiance. But the stars are new. And one of the most important things about this here, at least in terms of what hit me, was I went to work, went to go do some work on actuarial journey and get things ready for the upcoming AJ 3.0 actuary success journey program. And when I got back, we were in this winter wonderland, and it was amazing to me because my wife can just get things done, and it really gets to the aspect of taking care of business and the difference between willpower and actually getting something done. And what is it that actually helps you make those strides. And so that's what I want to talk about today here. And by the end of the time that we talk here, I'll give you three different things that you can do to help you make the actions that you want to do and kind of get past the any kind of willpower lulls or willpower just breaks in getting things done. So let me start off though by sharing with you something that comes to mind, which is related to another gym story, but one that was really important. So I've been fortunate enough to have a gym membership for several years, going on 10 years. And for a good portion of that, the gym was, pretty close to where I lived. Back in college, it was less than 4 minutes away. There was a time when it was actually in one of the apartments I was staying at, and all I needed to do was go from like the 15th floor down to the fourth floor to go to the gym. And it's really funny because out of all those times, even though it was always just like a little bit of a walking distance away, I could probably count, on two hands in any given year how many times I went to the gym. So yes, I would say that if I was being generous, I made it to the gym 10 times in a given year to go to the gym. And that was kind of like the story of my approach for several years. It was just barely breaking into like even the dozens out there. And that's basically how things continued. It continued on that way until about 2014 when I moved in with my wife. And one of the things that happened there was I moved into this apartment, and I said to myself, "Hey, I'm moving in here. It's time for me to take that next level. I am going to do the responsible thing. I'm going to do the healthy thing, and I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to the gym every single day." And I was like, yes, I got this. I'm going to like willing it to happen. It's time to make this take place. And what happened was that the first 2 days I made it, no problem. And then the third day came around, and I felt this like strong nagging, this pull to just stay in bed. I'm sure you know what that feels like there. And the thing was, like, at that point, my willpower was not was failing me. All right. But there were other things that I had in place that were working for me, right? Things like the fact that I had signed up for the gym with my wife, and she wouldn't be able to go to the gym unless I decided to go there. But if things like going out and really just having it as a daily routine, like every day at 6:30 we're going to the gym. These other factors that came in such that even when I didn't quote unquote feel like doing it, when my willpower was not there, I was still able to go. And I compare that and I contrast that to the times in the years prior when I had been trying to go to the gym. And that would be, I would wake up, go take care of things at school or go take things care of things at work, and then say at the end of the day, yeah, you know what, now that I've done all these different things, before I have dinner or before I go hang out with my friends, I'm just going to go to the gym and just put in that time there. The thing was that willpower had already been depleted by that time. In fact, if you're not familiar with this, a lot of different studies and a lot of different stories and books out there kind of note willpower as a depleting resource that kind of replenishes the next day. And so, like, you can kind of think of it as like a willpower tank, right? And that tank just depletes as you continuously make different decisions that make you either have to use your willpower or, basically any decision that you do that you don't really want to do, right? Something that doesn't like fuel you up. You're like, okay, yeah, I won't have that extra brownie bite. I will have the celery. Willpower usage, right? So, so when I think about those times beforehand when I was hardly going to the gym, comparing that to the times later on in life where I still didn't want to go to the gym, I did not want to do it, but I ended up making it there 6, 7 times a week, and I'm sorry, what's going on through my mind is I made it 6, 7 times a week, but I still think I was in the best shape of my life when I was boxing. But with that there, what comes to mind, what came to mind, and what I quickly started to realize was that as much as I wanted to will myself to do it, as much as I wanted to do it because it was the thing to do or what I felt I should do, that wouldn't have been enough. That wouldn't have been enough if I didn't have the other sources of reinforcement in place. And I think about that when it came to my actuarial journey and studying for exams. And the idea that, I would come home from work and somehow between going to the gym and eating dinner and hanging out with my 4 other roommates at the time, I was also going to put in 2 hours of studying every day. And that same old willpower story came right back up. That willpower won't power you. And basically, and let me know, I'm sure you've experienced something similar here, where at a certain point, it came time for me to pull out my study materials, and lo and behold, it didn't really feel like it, and it didn't really happen, right? And this sort of event took place for a number of years. And the thing about it is that I didn't realize, I didn't know, I didn't have people didn't talk about this stuff when it came to the exams, right? It was about like the technical skills. Like, are you physically doing the problems? Get out there and put in your 100 hours of studying. But like, how? What are the things that create the structure or create the pressure or create the framework for you to go ahead and do the things that you know that you need to do? At that time, I was relying on willpower to get me through. And the results were that my exam trajectory and my exam process suffered as a result of it. Right? And I compare that to some things that are going on now. We're actually, and things that are going on now with the people that we work with here in Actuarial Journey, and so all of you journeyers out there and trailblazers, right? I'm going to pose a question to you. Have, can you think through a time where willpower wasn't available to you? Go ahead and let me know in the comments there. Think through a time where you said you were going to study, or you said you were going to do some research on a company, or you were planning on, making a phone call to someone to get your foot in the door with an actuarial company, and yet it didn't happen. Go ahead and leave a comment, share some things about that there. And as you're thinking through this, I think that we will all find that these kinds of situations happen more often than we really want them to. And one of the things that we explored and found through the Trailblazer community was that there are various ways that you can do right now, various things. And I'm going to tell you three, but there's way more than three. Three things that you can do to help you get a more proactive and more control over this willpower bucket. The first one, right? Let's just jump right into it. The first one here is to acknowledge that willpower is not unlimited. It's a big step, just getting it and admitting to yourself that, hey, just because I want to do it now, or just because I say I'm going to do it right now, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. And it's not because I'm a bad person. It's not because all these different things in life happen, because life happens and it always will. It isn't about that. It's about the fact that we all have a certain capacity for willpower, and we can grow that capacity. But I think relying on that solely is a place that can put us into trouble. So taking the time to acknowledge that, and you can do that by reflecting on things that have gone right for you in the past. Things of where things that were hard for you to do, you still did it, right? Like that was drawing on your willpower. And think about the times of the days, or the types of experiences where that happened, right? Think about, did it happen in the morning for you? Did it happen at night? Did you do it over the weekend? Were you having a stressful week and you did it? Or was it something where the entire day was amazing and you did this other thing on top of it, right? Going through and acknowledging that your willpower may not be available to you when you want it is the first step there. Because once you've been able to define what the issue may be, or where the limitation may be, or where your opportunity for growth, because I like to look at things on the positive side, where your opportunity for growth may lie, right? That then gives you the opportunity to then take concrete, specific, deliberate action to move yourself forward. So the first one here was to acknowledge that willpower is not an unlimited resource, right? The next one here, and this one comes from the book, The One Thing, and which is a wonderful book about getting things done and actually utilizing your willpower in the right way. That second thing is that, given that the willpower is a tank and it replenishes in the morning and kind of tinkers its way down, you're going to want to do the most important things, the things that that you probably won't want to do later on. You're going to want to take care of that first things in the morning. So that might mean waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to study. It might mean waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning to study, or at 8 o'clock to respond back to some emails, or whatever it is for you, right? And actually, do me a favor, take some time, let me know, what is it in your mind that, it's that piece of unfinished business, that thing that you always put off towards the end of the day that you just aren't really addressing, right? Take some time to think through that, because, while I'm out here hanging out in my winter wonderland here, that I know that each of you are doing something right now. You might be driving to work. You might be just hanging out and taking some time to just build up your knowledge base as it comes to your actuarial journey. Or, you might be in the middle of actively pushing off something that that you had wanted to do, but your willpower tank was low. Think about that there, because again, by acknowledging it and identifying it, you can now take the time and take the deliberate action to move it to a time that will be more befitting for you, right? So the reason that we typically suggest doing things in the morning is that at that point, A, there are no distractions that have come up in the day, right? It's just you and taking care of business. And B, your willpower tank hasn't been drained yet. You haven't gone to meeting after meeting to try and explain different things, or you haven't been working on your actuarial models all day, or you haven't been looking up and researching different companies in order to get a position, or done hours upon hours of studying, right? All these things compile, keep going on, and deplete from the willpower tank, right? All good things that need to get done, but your ability to be as fresh for it consistently and to know that you will be fresh for it depletes, right? So instead of letting it be subject to the whims of your emotions and whether or not your willpower will allow you to do it, you're going to take control. You take control by moving it to a time earlier in your day. I suggest, especially if it's the most important thing that you do, bringing that right up to the very, very top of your day, and creating the time to allow that to happen, right? You might be a night owl, totally cool. I get that, but if you're finding that you're a night owl and between 10 and 1 a.m. in the morning, you're not really doing anything more than catching up on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., great TV show, by the way, then you can probably get more by cutting out an hour and a half of that and shifting that time back to the morning when you get a new tank of willpower. And let me make sure that I'm not leading you astray. One of the hardest parts about waking up in the morning is the actual waking up. And we'll talk in another session here around some of the things that you might be able to employ to be able to get more out of your mornings, and how you can set up routines and different things to actually get out of bed and start off that day. Because quite frankly, I can tell you, if I had to chart my productivity on a chart here and say and had the days where I was waking up early compared to the days where I didn't, or let's say the weeks where I didn't, it is night and day. It is night and day. I just know, I know based on how much work I've gotten done with the actuarial journey, whether or not I was waking up early that week and getting things done. So, willpower won't power you, right? First and foremost, acknowledge that that's the case, right? Secondly, push the most important items of your day, the things that might drain the most willpower or use the most brain power to do, push them up to the top part of your day, maybe even before you start the rest of your day, so that you can go ahead and maximize the willpower that is available to you. And then the third thing is to establish habits, right? Establish habits and gain accountability. And I'll go back to the story that I was sharing earlier around my gym experience, and the big thing that had changed was that my habit, I was waking up at 6:30 in the morning to go to the gym. And so my willpower tank was a lot higher than it was at 6:30 at night, right? So that was one thing that was in the right direction. Secondly, it was on a recurrent basis. We made it a point to go every day as soon as we woke up. So that included Saturdays and Sundays. So very quickly, this became a habit. This became a habit of the alarm goes off, getting changed, getting ready to go to the gym, and then making that happen, right? And what happens is that, after a while, when the habit starts to kick in, then you start to experience various additional benefits, and you kind of crave to go. And I think for the purposes of this conversation, another important benefit happens where it no longer takes extra energy to convince yourself to do the activity. It's a habit, and one of the things that a habit habit happens. That's not the worst sentence there, but or phrase. But like one of the things that a habit does, then this is what makes a habit, is the fact that like you no longer think about it. It becomes automatic, right? So there's things that used to drain willpower now become automatic. You also feel a little bit of a positive aspect of it, and you're able to take this thing that used to be a drain on the willpower, bring it up early, take care of it, and it actually fuels you up more for the next day. Depletes less willpower than it had in the past, right? And then the third thing that was happening with the gym situation is that I had accountability. If I didn't go to the gym, my wife couldn't go. Right? We were in it together, like pretty much literally. Like if I didn't want to go, she couldn't go. Right? And that also worked for her on the days where I'm like, we need to go to the gym, and she's like, I just want to sleep in. I could go back and provide that level of accountability back to her and say like, you know what? If it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen all day. We need to make this happen, right? So taking that into account and like really looking at how do I transform some of the things that I do and kind of like need to kind of make happen through willpower. I'll just motivate myself. I'll just be inspired today. I love motivation. I love motivation. I love being inspired, you know? And recently, I found that like I might love it too much, you know? Like being able to take action and make things happen, that's what's going to get you to where you want to go. That's what's going to bring all the ideas, all the knowledge, all the know-how that you have in your mind into the real world so that you can continue to make progress toward your goals. So where are you relying on willpower in your life? Where are you relying on willpower as it comes to your actuarial journey? Are you waiting on willpower to say, hey, you know, now I'm going to go ahead and study. I'll make sure I study at least a little bit at the end of the night. Are you relying on willpower to, you know, to get behind your laptop and send that email to an actuarial employer or someone that you can have a informational conversation with? Are you waiting on willpower to sit behind your desk and write out the specific responses that you would give to potential employers during an interview so that they can understand your unique value, your personal brand, and what you bring to the table, how you differentiate yourself from others? Are you waiting on that? And are you relying on willpower? Because it won't power you. All right. So we'll go ahead. We'll end today's session there. Please send us a message down in the comments or back on the webpage about this episode here. Really all around, like, what is a time where you had relied on willpower? And then what did you do to start getting more positive results for that same action without having to rely on willpower? All right. So a time where willpower was like a big part of it, maybe it would happen, maybe it wouldn't. And then some specific things that you did so that you didn't have to rely on willpower for that action anymore. All right. So coming at you live from the winter wonderland, this is Nemo Ashong from Actuarial Journey signing off. I want to just say thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. Here's to your continued success. Journey on.